Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be providing an overview for the February 10th to 11th Godfest, which is live right now. So, Godfests have changed quite significantly due to the rare machine renewal and the full disclosure of rolling rates. With those two factors taken into account, Godfests now feature a much smaller pool of available cards, but that also means each individual card has a much higher hit rate because the pool is not as diluted. However, Godfests will no longer advertise rate increases and instead highlight specific cards. And only during Godfest will 6-star Godfest exclusives be available. 5-star Godfest exclusives, as well as the various Pantheon cards, will always be available on a rotating basis, but you only can roll the 6-star Godfest exclusives during Godfest. So because of that point, it's still the best time to actually roll the rare machine. Now, rolling rates may vary or differ from Godfest to Godfest, but for the most part, I feel they will remain relatively standardized. So this is yet another Godfest with no name. I'm not sure why they stopped naming their Godfest. I kind of like their names. Sometimes they were punny, but regardless, like the previous Godfest, only 20 6-star Godfest exclusives will be featured. And in fact, this roster is actually quite formidable for the most part. Like, they are featuring the stronger cards while also omitting the weaker ones, because since only 20 are featured, that means in this case here, 11 are unavailable. So if a card is available, obviously it means you can roll them, but if it's listed as unavailable, you cannot actually acquire them. So from this pool here, it becomes apparent that only Fujin and Amino are the real big standout cards that you can't roll at this point in time. And that also means most of the higher tier or valuable cards are currently available. So I feel that showing what is missing is sometimes just as helpful as what is available. Now, the Pantheon cards will also be available as well at various rolling rates, but for the most part, you try and focus on the Godfest exclusives because they tend to be the stronger cards overall. Now, one last little point I want to mention is that Dark Kali actually was not featured this nor the previous Godfest, so this is the only one that hasn't seen being a feature since for a while now. So I'm kind of revitalizing my Godfest exclusive tier list, and this basically just takes into account their overall viability or usage when utilized on various team compositions, whether it's a sub, inherit, or a leader. And of course, all tier lists you should take with a grain of salt because they're usually a good starting point. It's not necessarily like the end all, like you have to focus that follow it religiously. Use it as a starting point and adjust as needed, because just because certain cards are ranked highly, if you don't have any value or place for them, it's not going to provide much help for you overall. So right now you can see that of all, this is like the first chart is all the 6-star Godfest exclusives ranked, and then the second chart is showing what is available during this Godfest. So like I already mentioned, most of the S tier cards, aka the ones you really want to roll, are available during this Godfest. Only Amino and Fujin are unavailable. Now remember, everything in this list, don't ignore the ordering of in each tier, just know that they're all S tier. So this is actually quite a powerful Godfest because they have basically removed all the C's and B's for the most part. So we actually have quite a nice, highly concentrated pool of cards to roll from. Now, there are two relatively new Godfest exclusive cards in this event, and I'm just going to briefly review them really quickly because in case some people missed them because they only debuted last Godfest. So Matcha is relatively new, but Matcha is considered one of the strongest cards in the game because they have an inheritable leader swap. So a card like Lee is basically the top prize from the Dragonbound Dragon Collar event at the time because it was the only inheritable leader swap. So what you do is you enter the dungeon with a 7x6 leader, and then you inherit Lee or Matcha onto your ideal leader, not ideal, but actually that leader you want to use. So for instance, you enter a dungeon with Diao Chan as a leader, Anubis as a sub, a friend Anubis. You swap from the inherit on the Anubis to move them into your leader spot, and then you have double Anubis on a 7x6 board. Your board does not get changed after a leader swap, so that's very important. Same with the Ganesha bonuses as well at the end. So this can allow you to have a bigger board and basically work with a higher combo count team much more easily and more reliably. Furthermore, color cross teams like Roshana love 7x6 boards because now you can easily make 3 color crosses or even 4, and then the damage just gets truly out of hand. So Matcha is game breaking and she's very powerful. Unfortunately, she has a 0.6% chance of being rolled, which is not so great. And if we're going to estimate the rare machine rolling rates, the collab rolling rates after the renewal and the disclosure, 6-star cards aka Lee, have about a 5.22% chance of being rolled. So if you are looking for a leader swap, it's probably better to wait for Dragonbound Dragon Caller, but again, that came relatively recently, so we don't know how soon that will actually return. But again, if this is still a good Godfest for you to roll in, Matcha is going to be obviously a great consolation prize at the same time. There are other perks and benefits to Matcha, but that's really her main shining point. And now Morrigu we come up with. So Morrigu provides +3 combo count for 1 turn. Now you think 3 combo count, wow, that's great, I can do so much. But in actuality, it's actually quite lackluster because we do have other +2 combo count options available, but those come with collateral benefits. Morrigu has no collateral benefit and a much longer cooldown. Something like Unevolved Oichi provides you a board of Hearts, Dark, Wood Orbs, and +2 combo count on a significantly shorter cooldown. So you're trading 1 combo count for your board being made. Now, I would rather take a board being made because you're basically using 1 active instead of 2. If you pop Morrigu, yes, you get more combos, but you may not have a board that you want to activate because you usually need these plus combo count abilities against spawns with either, say, combo shields, or that they require a follow-up attack, so you need the Column of Hearts, or a 3x3 box, or even both at the same time. So those plus combo counts help you cheat that. But if you use something like Oichi, you accomplish the board change and the combo count at the same time. So in those challenging situations where you need to have all those combinations, it's best to use that 1 active instead of 2, unless you really could spare to use 2, but that's usually not the case. So Morrigu, for the most part, is going to be a very niche inherit. Yes, it sounds cool on paper, but it's not that practical in actuality. And again, the situations where we need to utilize this are somewhat scarce for the most part. So Pantheon and 5-star Godfest exclusives, they do not receive any of the highlighted boosted rates. So from what I've seen of the rare machine thus far is that if a card is highlighted, they will receive approximately 2 times better rolling rates. However, during Godfest, all the highlighted cards from before just get pushed back down to their normal rolling rates to basically make space for the 6-star Godfest exclusives because those take up 12% of the rolling pool. So because of that, it's actually harder to roll those Pantheon, 6-star Pantheon cards as well as 5-star Godfest exclusives during Godfest events. However, for the most part, 6-star Godfest exclusives are stronger than 6-star Pantheons, as well as the fact that you still can roll them, they're just at a lower rate. So even though like something like, say, like Nohime, Uranus, when they're highlighted, you want to roll those cards, it's still best to wait for an overlapping Godfest because they will still be available at a lower hit rate, but at least you can roll the 6-star Godfest exclusives at the same time. So then last but not least, we're going to talk about collabs versus Godfest because with the overhaul, Godfests are still very powerful and potent because their pool has been narrowed, but collabs have possibly become a lot stronger because they now can no longer advertise like a point-something% rolling rate. They have to give a generous rolling rate, otherwise no one wants to roll. So because of that, collabs actually become a little bit easier, so to speak, to roll the higher tier cards because they're available at a much higher hit rate. So that does put obviously competition for your stones of Godfest or collabs. So you have to decide, what do you need more? Like, collabs can be very powerful because they offer unique things, but you have to remember collabs have obviously a higher chance of giving the lowest denominator. So unless the 5-star cards are valuable in collabs, it may not necessarily be worth rolling in them unless you can actually take advantage of them. So again, I'm going to use the Dragonbound Dragon Caller as an example because they had the best 5 stars overall. So something like that is definitely worth rolling in because those 5 stars are amazing to actually acquire. So in conclusion, this Godfest with no name is quite exciting, like if you are chasing 6-star Godfest exclusives, because they do have probably what's going to be the best roster lineup for a Godfest for at least a foreseeable future. I highly doubt they're going to feature all the top tier cards at once. Like, it's just probably a little problematic with planning because you need to cycle the cards. Like Dark Kali wasn't featured twice in a row, so I highly doubt they're going to just stop featuring certain ones. So this is a good time to roll if you are looking for 6-star Godfest exclusives. The New Year's Rare Machine is coming out. I will do the review soon. It will be out before Monday because that's when that goes live. But for the most part, it really depends what you need. Again, collabs you want to roll and expect to get the lowest rarity card. Just keep that in mind. So let me know what you think about this Godfest in the comments below. Do you plan on rolling or saving your stones for a future collab or even a future Godfest? Hopefully you all have a fantastic day. Wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.